Mr. Spado. How are you?
How you doing, Laura? Great to see you.
Great to see you. And I'm so excited. We interviewed you for the show. Your episode is out. It is doing incredibly thousands of downloads every day. People are just loving your story. And so I had to, for this week, I really wanted to read something out of your book, The Accidental Gangster, which is the best title in the world. Um, and I was really just struck by, you see, I have it here, chapter 9. Can you see that? That's
Yes,
Sunny. Sunny is a great chapter, and it feels like that chapter is when your life kind of took a turn. Like you were going in one direction. To me, that's what it felt like. And then after you met Sunny Francisi, is that how you pronounce it?
yeah.
Then yeah, then
Franchise.
Frances. That's what I wanted to say, but it didn't look like that. So
Yeah.
but just tell me a little bit about who he was to you and how that first meeting with him changed your life.
Well, when I first met Sonny, I gotta be honest, I didn't even know who the hell he was.
Right.
I just knew he was important. I had no idea of how important. I had, and back then you didn't have Google and all that there, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But it was just a remarkable day that I'll never forget, that day at the Four Seasons. And when he grabbed me by the arm and brought me down to Broadway in 57, and it developed into a friendship that's really so difficult that most people can't understand it. And even after, when an informant started that cocaine conspiracy, and the two people that got indicted was me and the acting captain, Michael Carapano, who was Sonny's nephew. Okay. They thought I was doing the deal and I was screwing them out of the money. And Michael got approval to whack me.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And, that upset me, of course. And
of course,
it didn't happen.
No, you're here talking to me, but let me just ask you a quick question, because Sonny, when he died in 2020, right? Was it 2020 that he died?
Yeah.
At age 103?
2021.
He was known as the head of the Colombo crime family.
Colombo crime family.
Was he the head then when you met him at the Four Seasons that day?
Underboss, yeah.
Okay, he was the underboss. So you and he struck up this friendship, and people didn't understand it to the point where they thought that maybe you were screwing them out of something.
That was the deal on the cocaine conspiracy charge.
Yeah.
Which was set up by an informant. And what the informant was doing, he was going back to the captain and telling the captain all the money they're going to make with Ori on this cocaine deal. A deal that's never going to happen. So now he gets him all excited. Now me and Michael, we never had a conversation about the cocaine. Not one. Not one. And Michael and I talked to each other.
Yeah.
But we never had a conversation about it. He never asked me. He keeps asking the informant. And finally, the informant says, I think Spado's doing it. He's screwing us out of the money. So, that's a no-no. Okay, if that really happened, it didn't happen.
Right.
Okay. And he went to Sonny. Sonny gave him permission to whack. I found this out in prison in my discovery.
Wow.
And I had a talk with Michael Carapano about it in prison in the library. We had a discussion. And you got to remember, Sonny got bail. I didn't get bail. And when we went for Lyman-E motions, Sonny comes in. I'm already in the courtroom, sitting down with the other co-defendants, and we're doing Lyman-E motions, which is the last motions you submit before you go to trial.
Okay.
Sonny comes in, he stands in front of me across, he was sitting, goes, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" He says. "I hear you're upset with me." I look up, he's standing up, I'm at the table, he's on the other. "Hey, buddy, I'm not upset." I says, "I'm a little pissed," I said, "because you would normally call me and say you got to come in for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I fly back." I said, "But you never asked me. If you would have called me and asked me, we all probably wouldn't be sitting here today."
Right.
And I said, "No," I says, "I'm a man. I accept it." I said, "You're still my friend, no problem."
Wow.
You know,
Why did they call it off?
probably because we got arrested.
Oh. Well, that was fortunate then in a way, huh?
It's not. I gotta be honest with you. It just should. It was one of the things that in his latter years of life that Sonny never would have done in his earlier days of life.
Yeah.
And I was disappointed he did it, like I said. But hey, look, I accepted like a man. I know what the rules are. And and then it all came out in the courts. You follow me, that there was no cocaine deal.
Right. Wow. This gives so much more texture to the chapter that I read in this this On My Nightstand that is on our YouTube, and it's also dropped as a podcast episode today, so you can find it everywhere. But listen to the On My Nightstand. Listen to me read this part of the chapter. Go back and listen to Mr. Spado's episode, The Only Accidental Gangster. It is episode 106. It's our latest episode, and it is, man, just sit down, put your feet up. You're going to hear some stories. You're going to want to tell them to people. You're going to want to share it with people. You're going to believe, I can't believe this is true. And if you think it should be a movie, you're right. And it's going to be, and you'll hear more about that in the episode. And the Accidental Gangster, your website, right? Is it called the accidentalgangster.com?
Right.
You'll have the link to that in the show notes for this episode. So just click that and you'll go right to his website and you'll be able to see everything that he's up to. Get your own copy of the Accidental Gangster. I always show this. He signed mine to me, personalized it. You can't have it, but you can get your own just by going to his website. So please do so. And Ori Spado, it is always a pleasure to have you. I hope that we get to interview you again because you have so many more stories.
I have a lot more stories, Laura. And there's a story that I want to share with you in this book.
He leaned over and whispered in my ear, "Kid, I got another death threat." I knew he had received phone threats before, but I figured they were bullshit because a serious killer probably wouldn't give his target a warning. But this latest threat was different. It was more specific. Walter had hired his brother-in-law to work for him. Not long afterward, warranties began showing up with numbers Walter hadn't issued. He investigated and found that someone was offering customers an inferior polyglycoat-type product and that their warranty was being given under Walter's business. He knew the warranty piece of the scam had to be an inside job, and putting two and two together, he figured his brother-in-law had to be the inside guy. He planned to fire him, but this latest threat said that if he fired the guy, he'd be killed. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. "Kid, I know you're plugged in. Don't go back to Florida right away. Stay here and see what you can find out." His boys and some FBI agents were right there at that bar and other tables. After a while, he leaned toward me and whispered, "Explain to me this problem your friend is having." I told him everything I knew, also in a whisper. He took both my office phone number in Rome and my Florida phone number. He said he'd try to find out what this could be about and get back to me. With our business out of the way, I ordered fish.
Sometimes I'm allergic to fish depending on what waters it comes from. Well, I was allergic to this one, and I got very sick, with vomiting and diarrhea. Sonny had 2 of his guys, Johnny Irish and Red Krabby, take me to the New York City hospital. I passed out during the ride and woke up lying in a hospital bed. With my eyes still closed, I heard the doctor who was treating me ask Johnny and Red, "I need to know the patient's name." One of them answered, "No, Doc, you don't need to know that." "What about your names then?" "You don't need to know them either." I was released a couple hours later, and Johnny and Red drove me to the Warwick. The next day, I flew back to Florida. Sonny and his family never forgot about me getting sick, and it became part of the conversation whenever I was around them. Little did I know how close I would become with this entire family in the years ahead, right up to my arrest 30 years later.